It's time for America Outdoors Radio, the show that covers the outdoor scene across the U.S. of A. and the entire continent. Fishing, hunting, conservation, outdoor recreation, and great destinations. We cover it all every week. It's your country, your outdoors. Let's explore it together with your host, John Kruse.
Welcome to the show. I hope you're having some fun this weekend. I know I am. I'm actually fishing the Northwest Bass and Nixon's Marine Big Bass Tournament at Potholes Reservoir. That's my home lake in eastern Washington. Out there trying to catch a big bass with my best friend, Rusty Johnston. There's 7 hourly weigh-ins. Each hourly winner gets some cash and a key. And at the end of the tournament, each hourly winner tries to start the boat. And the boat we're talking about is a $70,000 Skeeter FX20 from Nixon's Marine in Washington State. First, obviously, we got to catch a big bass. Second, we got to go ahead and get it in for the weigh-in and beat out everybody else for the hour. And third, we've got to go ahead and get a key to start that boat. Wish us luck. As always, we're going to need it. This week on the show, we've got a good one for you. We've got some great guests. It's only a week away from Memorial Day weekend, and that's why we've got Brooks Hansen with Camp Chef on the line. He's going to tell you about some items you'll want to have for Memorial Day weekend, whether you're car camping or grilling in the backyard. And as always, he's got a couple great recipes to share with you. After we talk to Brooks, we're going to head to Virginia and chat with Dr. Peter Brooks. Pete wrote an article for the Virginia Division of Wildlife Resources about the top 10 fishing lakes and rivers in Virginia. And today we're going to talk to you about some of those rivers and why they are so good for fishing. I guarantee it's going to make you want to go to Virginia and fish a few of these rivers. After that, we're going to chat with Trey Curtis. He's with Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. They are based in Missoula, Montana, and that's where they're going to have their annual rendezvous. It's a fun event. It's full of seminars and demonstrations and just plain fellowship and good times. Taking place January 13th through the 15th at the University of Montana. And sticking with Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, we're going to talk to Devin O'Dea. The Republican legislature has introduced something into the big budget bill that would allow the sale of public lands in both Nevada and Utah. It would also potentially reopen mining near the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness and the Alaska Brooks Range. Now, these two issues had been settled during the last few years, and they were not going to happen, but now they're clearly back on the table. And as for the sell-off of public lands, well, let me put it this way. Once they're sold, you're never going to get them back. But before we talk to Peter and Trey and Devin, let's check in with Brooks Hansen. Memorial Day weekend is next weekend, and you need to get prepared for the opening day of car camping season all over our United States. With us here to help you out with that is Brooks Hansen with Camp Chef. Brooks, great to have you back on the air.
Hey, John, it's good to be on. And summer's coming. Spring's just about over, and I don't know how it is where you are, but it's warming up, and people are starting to get outside, so it's been fun.
Yes, it has. I agree completely. And Camp Chef has got something brand new for the car campers out there.
Yeah, you talk about our new Kodiak stove. It's a small suitcase-style stove. Our price point model, it's $99. It's got 10,000 BTU burners, kind of some cool features. And there's a place next to the burners where the regulator nests and stores so it doesn't rattle around. Just a basic stove. It does have matchless ignition. It's got silicone knobs for your heat control adjustment on the burners. Just a super simple stove that can get you cooking on your first camping trip or your last camping trip for only $99.
It's really hard to beat that price point, especially for a Camp Chef stove. That's really nice. You know, a lot of folks, though, they're going to be bringing their Pro 14 two-burner stoves out to the campgrounds because they're very versatile.
Yeah, when you talk about the Pro 14, I think of modularity and versatility. I mean, if you're cooking for 5 or more people, this is the perfect system. It's 30,000 BTU burners. It's 100% modular. You can put a griddle on it that covers one or both the burners. You can put a grill box or barbecue box, we like to call it, on one or both burners. You can put a pizza oven on it, or you can just put a Dutch oven or a skillet or a saucepan. There's just so much you can do. It's just so versatile. You know, you could do pizzas on one side and bacon and eggs on the other side all at the same time. It's portable. It folds up not super small, but small enough that you won't really notice. Adjustable legs, matchless ignition, folding side shelves. It's got all the bells and whistles. The Pro 14 is really what Camp Chef was founded on. It really creates a better way to cook outdoors.
All right. You know, I always like to get hungry, and that means you have to tell me a recipe that myself and other campers should consider this weekend?
Man, there's lots of things that you could do. I would say do as much prep at home before, so veggies and stuff of that is chopped and in bags, that won't go bad, that you can chop, which will make your camp cooking experience that much better. But I think I'm going to go with just a basic smash burger. I'm going to take some ground meat, whether it be venison or beef, and ball it up in about a little smaller than a quarter-pound ball, season it, throw it on a hot griddle, and smash it. Smash it as flat as you can, develop that crust. As soon as that burger sweats, flip it over, throw some cheap Kraft cheese on there, just makes it super melty.
Ooh.
And some sauteed onions. Pull it off and I do like my own little burger sauce. And that's like your traditional smash burger. It's sauteed onions, it's cheese, it's burger, and the burger sauce. And it's pretty dang good.
Oh, as always, mission accomplished and making me want to eat something right away. All right. Not everybody's going to be car camping. There's going to be folks that are going to be out on the back patio, and maybe they're looking to upgrade their current charcoal grill or gas grill and go with a pellet grill. What do you suggest?
Yeah, if you're just getting into the pellet grill and you're not sure about spending over $1,000 for one and you want to go a little cheaper, our DLX is the very first pellet grill that we built 13 years ago. I mean, it's the deluxe model. It now includes Wi-Fi. And you can get into it for $600. A beautiful pellet grill that's got 2 meat probes. It still has the smoke settings, so you can set your smoke from 1 to 10. It can get up to temps if you're going high and want to bake or grill up to 450 degrees, and it can go down as low as 175 degrees. So that's a great option, is the Camp Chef DLX pellet grill.
Does that take any accessories?
Yeah, it also is compatible with our sidekick. So you can remove the side shelf. You can attach a sidekick if you happen to purchase those or purchase one of those or maybe had one. It attaches in its same place. And on that sidekick is one burner, 30,000 BTU burner that's the same burner that was in our Pro 14 stove. So all those accessories that you took with you camping with the Pro 14 can now fit on the sidekick that is attached to your pellet grill. So you could be smoking a brisket in the smoker and cooking pizza on the sidekick all at the same time.
I like it. And I've got to ask, for the backyard grillers out there who are celebrating Memorial Day weekend, what's a recipe you suggest?
You know what? I like to barbecue, and I like to do ribs on Memorial Day. So for me, Memorial Day, I know a lot it's about burgers and dogs. I'm going to do ribs. And it's hard to beat a 3-2-1 method. I'm going to get some pork baby back ribs. I'm going to pull the membrane off. I'm going to season them up. I've got a brown sugar rub that I really like, something Southern. Camp Chef Something Southern rub is a really good one. I'm going to season them up pretty liberal. I'm going to throw them on the smoker at 220 degrees. And I'm going to smoke. The 3-2-1 method is 3 hours on the grill. I'm going to pull them off after 3 hours. I'm going to wrap them in either butcher paper or foil, put a little liquid in the foil if I'm using foil, and wrap them and let them go same temperature for 2 more hours. So we're at 3 hours. Then our 2 is 2 hours wrapped. Then I'm going to unwrap them. I'm going to put a little barbecue sauce and a little glaze on the top of them, baste them with a basting brush, and let them go for 1 more hour at the same temp to kind of firm up that glaze. So you've got 3 hours uncovered, 2 hours covered, back to 1 hour uncovered, and those ribs are going to be perfect. That's 3-2-1 rib method. That's what I'm doing this Memorial Day.
And what's the temperature again?
225 degrees. Between 215 and 225 is where I like to go.
Oh, sounds absolutely delicious. And folks, if you're looking for other recipes and looking for products, go to campchef.com. That's campchef.com. They got all sorts of information about their products, to include the brand new Kodiak Camp Stove. So check it all out and head on down to your local sporting goods store. All the big box stores like Sportsman's Warehouse and Cabela's and Bass Pro Shop and Shields, they all carry Camp Chef products, and for good reason. Brooks, wishing you a very happy Memorial Day weekend with your family.
Thanks, John. Happy summer to you. Let's kick it off and get grilling.
I love it. Got to give it up for our friends at Henry Repeating Arms. They've come up with something very unique. It's the Garden Gun Smoothbore 22 caliber lever action rifle. Now, the Henry Garden Gun is one that you use if you are trying to deal with mice or maybe snakes on your property. If you live in the city, this isn't going to work out for you. But if you live in the country and want to get rid of some of these pests, this is the perfect rifle for you. It uses a 22 caliber long-range shot shell, and because it's a smooth bore and doesn't have rifling, it distributes the projectiles in a really tight pattern. Throw in the fact it's got a 15-round capacity, and there's plenty of pest control to go around. It's like all of the firearms from Henry Repeating Arms. It's made in the USA. It comes with a lifetime satisfaction guarantee. Check it out at henryusa.com, and don't forget to ask for your free decals and catalog while you're there.
Modular. When it comes to getting the most out of your Camp Chef 2-burner propane stove, that's the word to use. Sure, you can cook directly over either burner with a pot or pan, but how about putting a grill box on to serve up burgers, steaks, or chicken? Put a griddle on to cook up your breakfast. Pizza? We've got that covered too with our pizza oven that you place right over the stove. Whatever you're cooking while camping or at home, Camp Chef has got you covered. Find out more about modular stove accessories at campchef.com today.
A sharp blade makes short work of any project you have in the outdoors, in the kitchen, or in the shop. Hone your knives and tools with quality power and manual sharpeners from WorkSharp. Find out more at WorkSharpTools.com.
Frustrated with high prices and stingy possession limits at Alaska lodges? Well, come to beautiful Haida Gwaii in British Columbia, where you can bring home more Chinook salmon for less money thanks to a generous exchange rate between Canadian and American dollars. Stay in our beautiful lodge and enjoy guided fishing for 3 or 4 days, where we'll target Chinook and coho salmon, as well as halibut, lingcod, rockfish, and tuna. Book today at hgsportfishing.com. That's hgsportfishing.com.
You're back in with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Kruse. We've got Dr. Peter Brooks on the line. He's a Virginia-based outdoors writer, and he just wrote an article about Virginia's best fishing waters. And we're going to talk specifically about fishing Virginia's rivers today. Peter, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So let's talk a little bit about you first. You are an avid fly fishing angler, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right. In fact, I learned to fly fish out in the West, being from the East, originally from New York, and being in the Washington, D.C. area for many years. I learned in Colorado and Idaho, I would say, in the origins of my fly fishing. But we have lots of great fly fishing back here on the East Coast, including in Virginia for both cold and warm water species. Well,
let's start off with the inaptly named New River, which I just learned from your article is actually one of the world's oldest rivers.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
I don't know how they know that, but they say the New River is actually America's oldest river, and it's actually one of the world's oldest rivers. They say it's second only to the Egypt's Nile River. And I don't know how they know that, but I've seen it many, many places, and some of the fishery biologists I've spoken to back in the East, confirm that's the case. It's also kind of an interesting river in that it flows northward instead of southward, which most East Coast rivers do. It starts in North Carolina in the Blue Ridges and comes into Virginia, and then it moves over into West Virginia. And I would say it's one of the best rivers in Virginia for fishing. It boasts, large populations of, I think about just every major freshwater game fish in the state, and some consider it to be a smallmouth bass fishing. It's world class for smallmouth bass fishing. So it's a terrific river. And by the way, John, as I go through these are not in any particular order in the column I wrote them. I just kind of put them in there. But the New River is a good place to start.
All right. Well, let's talk about the Jackson and the James River.
Okay. Well, actually, I told when I wrote this article for the Virginia Department of Wildlife Resources, I told them I was going to make it the top 5. Actually, it's a 2-part series. It's a not made for television miniseries of 2 parts. And it was basically Virginia's top 10 fishing waters. And I broke it up into 2 parts. So the first part, which we're talking about, is on rivers. And I had a piece out this week in the Virginia Department of Wildlife Resources Notes from the Field on lakes. So this piece was on rivers. And I had Virginia has a lot of great rivers. It's a really unique fishing state in many ways, and I think it's one of the best on the East Coast. I've fished in, 35, 36, or 37 states, and even though I live here, it is really a top-notch fishing state. I mean, we have both cold and warm water species. We have fresh water, and also you remember, if you pull out the map in your mind of the United States, we also have salt water, which I don't even get into, right? And we have tidal and non-tidal rivers, which you may have out there, I'm sure, on the West Coast as well. So it's a really unique place. We have both rural and urban fishing. And like I said, I think some of the best fishing on the East Coast. So when I was going through this, I told my editor I was going to do 5 rivers and 5 lakes, and I cheated a little bit, and I put together the Jackson and the James River. Actually, the Jackson is a tributary. And the Jackson River, interestingly, because of it has a bottom release dam on it, supports a terrific population of both wild rainbow and wild brown trout, as well as further downriver of smallmouth bass, rock bass, and panfish. And then the Jackson feeds into the James, which starts out in the Appalachian Mountains and actually goes through the capital of Virginia, Richmond. And it, as I mentioned, this is one of those rivers that flows into the Chesapeake Bay and has both tidal and non-tidal sections. So it's basically a warm water fishery. So you have smallmouth bass, spotted bass, largemouth bass, muskie, channel catfish, blue catfish, flathead catfish, carp, and panfish. And then in the spring, which we're just finishing up, we have a run of shad. Hickory shad. I don't believe American shad run into the James. Maybe they do. But we have a run of shad as well as stripers who follow the shad up on their annual spawn run. So it's a really terrific river. Some people call it the Big Jim.
So tell me a little bit about the hickory shad. We have American shad over here in the Pacific Northwest. But hickory shad, I'm guessing, is a lot different.
Yeah, they are different. They're usually smaller. Our runs of American shad, and of course we have the Potomac River, which actually most of it belongs to either D.C. or Maryland. It was the way things were done when the federal district was set up. So they run up into, for instance, up into the Potomac by D.C. and D.C. waters. But these shad runs, we have both American and hickory. The American are fewer in number in Virginia. I can't say how that is for the rest of the East Coast. You may have seen the book, The Founding Fish on the Shad, which talks about them going up into places up in Delaware and New Jersey and other places, and even further south into North Carolina. But we have the hickory shad is known as the poor man's tarpon.
Oh.
It has that same sort of jaw as a tarpon. You know, that underslung jaw that comes up, where the American shad, the mouth kind of comes to I'm not a fishery biologist, so bear with me, but it comes to more of a point and meets more equally. Where the hickory shad, its lower jaw, like a tarpon, kind of comes up to more towards its nose. And they're also known for their acrobatics. Once you hook one, they will come out of the water, they will do some tail walking, and they're really kind of exciting. So we have probably more hickory shad coming into our tidal rivers than we do American. And that might be a cyclical thing. And obviously the fisheries folks, both the saltwater and freshwater fisheries authorities are looking at that closely.
All right. Well, let's move on to the scenic Shenandoah River.
Right. Yeah, the historic Shenandoah Valley. So the Shenandoah River has a couple of forks, the South Fork and the North Fork, and they come together at a place called Front Royal and then runs over to Harper's Ferry, which you may have heard of in West Virginia, where it dumps into the Potomac. And obviously it's a very historic, John Denver and others have written songs about it and things along that line. But the Shenandoah is known for its smallmouth bass fishing. I was out there a week or so ago, and on a day where you wouldn't expect to catch a lot of fish, it was bright sun, the water was low, it was clear, and, in a couple hours we boated 60 fish. 100 fish days, not uncommon for smallmouth bass on the Shenandoah. And that could be, I would say for a boat, this is obviously float fishing, not wading. But you can easily, capable anglers can put 100 fish in a boat. Now, the numbers over the years go up and down. We're all right even today as you and I talk, we're looking at the weather because it's the spawning period here. And if we get a big blowout of water into the rivers, into those drainages, we could, the spawn may not be as good. But the fish we are catching, we're in the 12-inch range, which are probably 3 to 5 years old. I've caught many citation fish in the Shenandoah, which in Virginia, that's 20 plus inches. so that you can get both quality and quantity in that river. You're not going to get 50 to 120 plus inch smallmouth bass, but you can have it's a really balanced fishery where there's good quality and good quantity. And the most recent recruitment year, it seems, or the last couple of years, seems to be good.
Well, we didn't even get to the Rappahannock River, but we are out of time. If you want to read about this, go ahead and go to dwr.virginia.gov. Look for the blog about the 10 top Virginia fishing waters and rivers. And is there a website folks can go to check out Brooks Outdoors?
I don't have a website, no, but I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm on Instagram. So if folks want to look me up, the challenge part is that my name is Brookes, and so the spelling's a little bit different. But they can find me if they Google me or use another search engine at Brooks Outdoors or Peter Brooks.
All right, that's Dr. Peter Brooks, folks, who wrote a great article about some great fishing in Virginia. Pete, thanks so much for sharing this with us today on America Outdoors Radio.
Good to be with you, John.
Come explore the Dalles in Oregon for outdoors fun. Hike amongst the wildflowers, bike our riverfront trail, or visit the Gorge Discovery Center where you can enjoy a live raptor display, or even check out our National Neon Sign Museum. But don't forget the fishing. We've got salmon, steelhead, bass, walleye, and monster-sized sturgeon waiting just for you. When the day is done, tell those tall tales at one of our wineries, breweries, or restaurants and plan your next adventure. Find out more at explorethedalles.com.
John Kruse here, looking to improve your bottom line as a business that caters to outdoors enthusiasts. You can do so for a very cost-effective price by advertising on America Outdoors Radio. I will tailor a marketing campaign for you, reaching hundreds of thousands of listeners every weekend tuning into our show on 135 stations in 33 states. We've got a sponsor opening right now, so contact me through my website at americaoutdoorsradio.com and let's talk about helping you. Welcome back to America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Kruse. Our next stop is Missoula, Montana. That's where Backcountry Hunters and Anglers is headquartered, and that's also the location for their annual North American Rendezvous. It's taking place June 13th through the 15th at the University of Montana. With us here to tell you more about it is Trey Curtis with BHA. Trey, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, I appreciate having us on, John.
So this is always a fun event. It draws thousands of people, and it stretches out over several days. So let's start off with Thursday, and there's a big dinner there that's really impressive, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And if we could take a quick step back, in the last few weeks, we've actually put together an additional event that's kind of tacked on to a rendezvous. And prior to our Field to Table fundraising dinner, we've been working with the Missoula BLM Field Office to host a hands-on Habitat Stewardship Day, kind of east of Missoula near the Big Blackfoot in the Belmont Meadow area, to remove some unnecessary barbed wire fencing, to make some better wildlife passage. And that is open as well. That'll be free. Obviously, we're just looking for folks to get out and get their hands dirty and show what BHA is all about. And that's about putting boots on the ground for wildlife conservation.
This fence pole stewardship project and the Field to Table dinner, that's happening Thursday, the 12th. So it's kind of before the event really kicks off, or I should say the rendezvous really kicks off. Tell our listeners about the Field to Table dinner. This is something really special.
Yeah, so this is, we've been doing this for about a decade now. BHA is kind of an organization that brings all types and all people together. But we do need to do some fundraising to put, those boots on the ground to do more of the on-the-ground habitat stewardship events and advocacy events that we do. And so the Field to Table dinner will be happening this year down at the Teller Wildlife Refuge. We've hosted it there in the past, bringing 9 to 10 chefs from across the country. These are folks that, some might have some notoriety, but some are just some cooks at home that make some incredible wild game meals. But they'll be coming to showcase some world-class wild game and forage recipes for our guests that night.
Well, I was able to attend one of those field-to-table dinners, and it was fantastic. But I have to share one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. This was in Boise, and I saw a friend of mine there. He was one of the chefs, and I've known him for years. And I went up, he interrupted a conversation he was having, and I started talking to him. And said, "Oh, it's great to see you." And he's looking at me, mortified. And so I'm thinking, is my fly unzipped, or what am I doing wrong here? And I see the other guy say, "Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt. My name's John Kruse." And he goes, "My name's Brad." "Okay, great to meet you." Then I turn around and I start talking to my friend again. And he's looking even more mortified. He says, "John, do you know who this is?" And I go, "Brad?" And he says, "It's Brad Little, the governor of Idaho." That was a very embarrassing moment. He was very nice about it. I will say that about Governor Little. But yeah, that was my great field-to-table dinner experience in Boise, Idaho.
Well, I'm glad you called that out, because you really never knew who you're going to run into at a rendezvous event. You could have a sitting U.S. senator, and you could have somebody who's, one of the most experienced backcountry hunters across the West. And so it really runs the gamut. There's a little bit of everybody there.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's go to Friday, 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. This is when things really kick off in a fun way, the Backcountry Brewfest.
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said, it's a weekend event, and we get things started on Friday. So from 5 to 9 p.m. down at Karis Park in downtown Missoula, we'll have our Backcountry Brewfest. We're going to have, beer from over 30 breweries from across Montana and I think Idaho as well. We'll have a couple different bands. So we'll have live music, we'll have yard games, and all sorts of camaraderie. We'll also have raffles and giveaways. But, this event in particular really brings together the entire Missoula community. So whether you don't want to join us over on the campus for the rest of the rendezvous, Brewfests are a pretty big deal here in Missoula. And so we're looking to have a pretty big crowd.
So on Saturday the 14th, that's the meat of the event, along with Sunday the 15th. And I've always appreciated the fact that you have a workout each morning. So 7:30 to 8:30 a.m., the morning workout ruck. Tell me about this.
Yeah, so we've done this a little bit in the past where we try to get, folks up and moving. And this year we've got our Armed Forces Initiative kind of taking lead on this event. And so, ruck is kind of a term that we can use loosely. It's really just a hike. If you want to pack some weight, you can. But if you just want to join us for a hike, our AFI folks are going to be joining down at the trailhead and walking up, talking, about their program, but then also BHA in general. Really just to shake the legs out and get ready for a full day of all sorts of fun.
Well, and let's talk about the show itself. So it runs from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., and there's demos going on, and there's a lot of vendors, exhibitors there too, aren't there?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll have all sorts of exhibitors, as you said. That'll be part of our kind of a show open where we'll have corporate partners, partner organizations that'll be exhibiting to, showcase their respective brands or the work that they're doing. And while that is open throughout the day, we'll also have all sorts of seminars and demonstrations. And that ranges everything from, backcountry hunting with llamas, and we will have llamas on site, to butchering demonstrations, to conservation updates from around North America, and so much in between.
All right. So from 6 to 7:30, a public lands and water celebration at the University of Montana's University Center Theater. What is this all about?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Public Lands and Water Celebration, and for a lot of these events, you can purchase individual tickets if you don't want to be a part of the full weekend. And this event in particular, you can purchase a separate ticket. But the Public Lands and Water Celebration is really the combination of two events that we posted in the past. And so it's going to be a live showcase of the winners of, BHA's prestigious awards from the past year. And so all of our award winners will be told at that event, and so they can come up on stage and share what they've done within the past year and why they're receiving that award. We'll also showcase them. But that's also going to be intertwined this year with our live storytelling event. In the past, we've done these campfire storytellings, not only a part of Rendezvous, but across the country. And so we're going to be intertwining those two this year in terms of awards event and a storytelling event.
And things wrap up on Saturday night with an evening on the Oval with Meat Eater Trivia with some of the Meat Eater crew, I presume.
Yeah, we're going to have a Meat Eater coming over from Bozeman joining us to host their Meat Eater Trivia. It'll be live. You can catch that on a weekly basis on the Meat Eater Podcast Network. But I believe this year we're going to have Randall Williams joining us to host Meat Eater Trivia out on the Oval. And all are welcome and hopefully can join.
All right, so Sunday the 15th, final day. There's another workout in the morning. The show runs from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. But the highlight, I think, for many folks is the Wild Game Cook-Off. You've got chapters from various states a whole bunch of states that are putting together these gourmet meals, and there's judges that get to sample them and decide which one is the best. And there's some really good food that's put together here.
Yeah, there's all sorts of pretty great food. You said it, the Wild Game Cook-Off will have 12, amateur teams made up of our chapter leaders that'll come together to compete and try to create the best wild game dish. And, that can span from, utilizing an elk shank. We've had bighorn, Rocky Mountain bighorn testicles. We've had rattlesnake. We've had all sorts of forage dishes before, but we'll have 5 judges walking around every 10 minutes. The cook-off teams will start and then be given an hour. They're working with a Jetboil Genesis system, only given a handful of tools. They can't bring anything that's pre-made. They're basically just using wild ingredients, and they've got an hour to create the best dish that they can. And later on, we'll be announcing the winners of that later on that night as well.
All right, and that would be at the Public Lands, Waters, and Wildlife Rally, also at the University of Montana, and then there's an after party that starts at 6:30 p.m. until everybody decides they want to go home. Again, it is the North American Rendezvous. It is an annual event put on by the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. If you want to find out more and get your ticket to go today, just go to backcountryhunters.org. That's backcountryhunters.org. It's going to be a fun time between June 12th and the 15th, and I don't think you want to miss out on this one. Trey, anything else you'd like to add?
No, I'll just add, as we wrap things up, this event is family-friendly and open to all. And even if you can't make it to all of it, we got ticket options to get you into pretty much anything. And so, hope you can join us. Missoula in June is a beautiful time of year.
Absolutely. Missoula is a great place to be in June. Thanks so much, Trey.
Thank you.
This portion of the show is brought to you by our friends at WorkSharp. And if you are hunting this fall, you know the importance of a sharp knife. You're going to need it for gutting that animal, butchering that animal, taking the hide off that animal, and there's a good chance you're going to have to sharpen it more than once while you're doing these things in the field. That's why a pocket knife sharpener or the guided field sharpener from WorkSharp are great items to have with you. Whether you're after deer, elk, pronghorn, or bear, a sharp knife helps you get things done after you drop that animal. Look for WorkSharp products at sporting goods stores, hardware stores, and ranch and home stores near you, or online at worksharptools.com. That's worksharptools.com.
I'm Anthony Imperato, president of Henry Repeating Arms. Patriotic Americans are looking to protect and provide for their families now more than ever. Henry has over 200 rifles and shotguns to choose from. Made in America or not made at all. And backed by a lifetime guarantee. Order a free catalog, decals, and a list of Henry dealers in your area. Go to henryusa.com or call 1-800-958-4993. Thank you and God bless America.
In today's news, I'm cooking a brisket. Let's go to Jill at my house to see how it's going.
This is your house and you brought me and the crew to check on your brisket?
That's correct, Jill. How's it looking?
This is a Camp Chef Woodwind Wi-Fi. You know you can check your cook right from your phone, right?
I didn't know that was an option, Jill. Well, never mind. But before you leave, can you feed the dog?
What? No.
When we get back, why is my check engine light on? The answer may shock me.
Hunting and fishing are exercises in hope. Before you head into the woods, you hope to tag out on a deer you'll have to field dress. Before you make that first cast, you hope for a big fish to clean and fillet. When your hopes are realized, you'll need a sharp knife. Whether you sharpen that blade on a power sharpener in the shop or a manual sharpener in the field, WorkSharp has the tool for you. Look for WorkSharp products in sporting goods stores near you or online at worksharptools.com.
Are you looking to reel in the marketing opportunity of a lifetime? Then set the hook because we've got it right here for you. America Outdoors Radio has sponsorships available, and we offer affordable platforms to reach thousands of listeners interested in fishing, hunting, and the outdoors. Find out more by contacting John Kruse through his website at AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. That's AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. Hurry, though. If you wait too long, the big opportunity might just get away. AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com.
Let's see, if something costs less, a lot less, but people are actually happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MetaShare. Maybe you've heard joining MetaShare can save you or your family up to $500 a month, and that's huge. But it's also true. People are just happier with it. They love being part of something that reflects and promotes their values and what they believe in. MetaShare works, too. It's been around for 30 years now, and members have shared more than $7 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care, whether you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan that you're happy with. Here you go. You can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. It's 855-SHARE-40. 855-SHARE 40. 855-SHARE-40.
Next up on America Outdoors Radio, we've got some concerning news to share about our public lands and conservation. With us here to tell you more about it is Devin O'Dea. He is the Western Policy and Conservation Manager for Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. Devin, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So I understand the Republican Party has introduced something new into their budget plan that could really affect our public lands, to include the sell-off of a huge chunk of land in Nevada and Utah. Tell our listeners more about this.
Yeah, that's correct. So when we got the initial text for the budget reconciliation markup in the House Natural Resources Committee about last week, we were optimistic because it didn't have any public land sales in there. And, there's been some rumors and speculations that those might be included. During the hearing last week at about 11:30 p.m., an amendment was added which would include sale of public lands in Utah, about 11,500 acres, and then over 500,000 acres of public lands in Nevada. And that was, literally an 11th hour amendment. It was passed, pretty much on party lines. There's one Republican heard in Colorado who opposed that amendment, but ultimately voted for the whole package. And there was one Democrat who flipped as well in California.
So who were the senators or representatives who introduced this?
This was Amodei in Nevada and Malloy in Utah.
So what are they saying is the reason they want to do this?
There's a few different reasons that are being floated around. Really, the underlying, argument, I think, is this is going to budget, right? This is raising revenue. So there have been discussions of, public land, housing on public lands, solving America's affordable housing crisis. These are some of the things that have been floated. But, when you look at the proposal, this money is going to go right into, the general fund. It's not going to go towards conservation or other public land acquisitions, which is something that typically would be required in sale of public lands. There's legislation that BHA worked on in order to require that those types of public land sales would have the revenue going back into public lands or conservation. So that's something that is being bypassed in this particular bill. And so it's going straight to the general fund. So it's really just a budget, a revenue generating tactic.
I was talking to Randy Newberg on the show, who, as we both know, is a huge public lands advocate. And he told me that they did a sale of public land near Las Vegas years ago. And the whole thing was, well, we're doing this to get more affordable housing. And instead what happened is it was bought up by developers who put in very expensive housing. And is there any reason to believe that it's going to be any different this time around?
Well, there's no safeguards. So, it's hard to speculate, but without those types of safeguards, one would have that concern, right? And, Nevada has its own particular legislation that also requires for these types of sales to have revenue that goes back into conservation and local communities. That's also stripped out. And when you look at the Nevada parcels, they're all pulled from various different legislation that have been proposed in the past that have public land sales or transfers, exchanges, and then they also have conservation compromises and they, buy-in and input from local communities. This is not included in this. We're just getting the public land sales piece, and the compromises have all been cut out. There's no funding going back into those communities or to conservation either.
I'm guessing it's not just developers that would profit from this, but also people who want to, take minerals and oil and other valuable things out of the land as well.
Yeah, I think there's, when you look at the broader budget reconciliation bill, this is one particular amendment that is in the House Natural Resources Committee. But if you look at that bill that the committee passed, there's a number of other provisions in there related to development on public lands, oil and gas, mining. A couple of those in particular are, high priority landscapes for hunters and anglers, including the Boundary Waters in Minnesota and the Brooks Range in Alaska. This bill is seeking to reverse protections that we have for the Boundary Waters, that 20-year mineral withdrawal that hunters and anglers really advocated for and were successful in achieving recently. And then also opposing the Ambler Road in Alaska that would bisect a couple hundred miles it's a couple 100-mile road that would bisect caribou migrations. And so there's a lot in there related to development and industry for sure.
And I got to tell you, it's frustrating because we've been reporting on the successes of, the denial of the Ambler Road in the Brooks Range of Alaska, of, the defeat of, I believe it's copper pit mining or mining that could, if there's a problem, and there often are with mines, that it could just pollute and destroy a lot of the waters in the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness. And to see this potential reverse is troubling indeed.
Yeah, I believe it's a copper nickel sulfide mining activities that'd be just upstream from the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness there in the Superior National Forest. Yeah, and it's threatening fish and wildlife and water quality. And I believe that's the country's most visited wilderness area. It's just, sportsmen and women have really showed up and expressed opposition to this. And so, yeah, we did celebrate that 20-year mineral withdrawal that was, done with community engagement in a bipartisan fashion. And so it's definitely something that we're disappointed to see, and part of our action alert calling on representatives to remove that provision. Same thing goes for the Ambler Road. I think there's almost 3,000 stream culverts and 11 major rivers that this industrial road would bisect. And, this is going to threaten fisheries, subsistence resources, the outdoor economy. There's just so many impacts there.
So what can our listeners do to try to stop this from happening?
Right now, the most important thing that you can do is to call your representative. They need to hear your voice. They need to hear from you why you oppose selling public lands. These are your lands. Why you oppose these large-scale industrial impacts to priority landscapes like the Boundary Waters or the Brooks Range in Alaska. And beyond that, beyond making that phone call, we have an action center on our website. We have an action alert that you can send a message that we've crafted, explaining our opposition to these various provisions in the budget bill. And we really recommend that you customize that too, and that you give it your own voice. That's going to have the greatest impact.
All right. Well, there you go, folks. Contact your representative. Let them know that you oppose the sell-off of our public lands and in mining in Alaska's Brooks Range and also above the Boundary Waters Area Canoe Wilderness. These are things we don't want to see happen, folks. Definitely don't want to see these happen. Something else you can do is join Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. And the website to go to is backcountryhunters.org. Devin, thanks for sounding the alarm on this today on America Outdoors Radio.
Thanks for elevating it for us.
As we get towards the end of our show today, I want to share some good news with you. Number one, I enjoyed a great time in the Dalles, Oregon during our Northwest Outdoor Writers Association conference from May 1st through the 4th. It was a great time, and good number of our members showed up, and we got to go fishing. We got to have some great seminars and lectures. We had some great meals, some great fellowship. It was just a fantastic time that we told you about on the show last week. And if any of you live in the Northwest, I'm talking Washington, Oregon, Idaho, British Columbia, or Montana, and you do any sort of writing or podcasting or vlogging on YouTube, maybe you have a TV show, maybe you're a freelance writer, maybe you're a photographer, maybe a videographer. Well, this organization is for you. And we're actively trying to recruit new members. So if you want to check out the website, you'll find it at NOWAOutdoors.com. That's NOWA Outdoors.com, NOWA Outdoors.com. Check it out. And if you're interested in joining our network of outdoors media professionals, we would be happy to mentor you and help you along the way. And I'm guessing some of you can teach us something too. The other piece of good news, well, that would be the fact that we have landed a spot on the schedule with the American Forces Network. That's right. Heard around the globe, broadcast to our service members and Department of Defense personnel. They've got 20 stations in Europe, in the Middle East, in the Pacific, and other places too. And we're airing on weekends on the American Forces Network. We're so proud of that. I'd also like to welcome a new affiliate on board. That would be KMWR 98.9 and 104.3 out of Pinedale, Arkansas, one of several stations we have in the natural state that broadcasts our show every week. And believe it or not, with these additions, we are now the most widely distributed fishing and hunting and conservation radio show in the entire nation. Hard to believe, but it's true. On that note, it's time to go. If you didn't get to hear the whole show, we will be uploading it as a podcast in the next few days. Just look for America Outdoors Radio wherever you consume your podcasts. And wish me and my fishing partner Rusty luck as we try to win this big bass tournament out on Potholes Reservoir in eastern Washington. It'd be great to come home with some cash. It'd be even greater to come home with a new Skeeter FX20 bass boat. My thanks to Nixon's Marine in Washington State and Northwest Bass for putting this on every year. Until next time, do remember this. It is your country. Until next time, here's hoping you're blessed, here's hoping you're healthy, and do remember this. It is your country and your outdoors, so get out there and enjoy it.